All right, welcome back to our program. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. I've got bars and bar stools, poker tables, poker table seating, pool tables, home theater seating, the classic stand-up arcade games. You name it, they have it. Their motto is, because life should be fun. And right now, when so many of us are spending extra time at home, I can't think of a better time to try and make your life more fun and to grab something from Games and Things and bring it into your home and give yourself a little entertainment. Check them out online at ourgameroom.com or stop by their store. It is a massive, fantastic place to visit. Games and Things. All right. Tom Herman was once the hot young Urban Meyer assistant that everyone wanted. In 4 years at Texas, he went 7-6, 10-4, 8-5, and 7-3 this past year. 7-3 during COVID. He finished 4th, 2nd, 3rd, and 3rd in the Big 12. Never worse than 4th in the Big 12. Won all 4 of the bowl games he coached in and was fired yesterday by Texas. And they went and got the offensive coordinator from Alabama, Steve Sarkisian, who, of course, was at Washington as a head coach, then went to Southern Cal and had the off-field issues that were in part of why he lost the job there. But Texas canned Herman, went to Sarkisian. As I mentioned, a lot of Vol fans are looking at that saying, well, that shows Texas is committed to winning more than Tennessee is committed to winning. Same thing they said about Auburn, getting rid of Gus Malzahn. I ask you, is that what it shows? Is Texas more committed to winning than Tennessee?
Well, I would say that's sort of an oversimplification. I think when you look at how Texas makes its money, the tenor of the entire Texas A&M, Oklahoma programs literally ebb and flow with the price of oil. That's just how it works. And so $24 million is a lot of money to get rid of a staff, but it's not that much money in Texas. A lot of folks, but similar to Tennessee, you do have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. You have a lot of voices in Crystal Connie, their athletic director's ear. So a complicated situation. To say that they're more committed, I don't know if that's true. But Texas does have the attitude of, not keeping up with the Joneses. Like, we are the Joneses, might as well be on the university crest. And I think Tennessee, for as much pride as they have, doesn't quite have that same attitude. And so, you mentioned never lower than 4th in the Big 12, but Texas is still a program that has won the Big 12 once since 2005. That's not good enough.
Texas never wants to be lower than 1st.
Exactly. I mean, every single year.
They look at Ohio State and Alabama and say, wait a second, why aren't we there? But
I would say this to simplify it. I think Texas is more committed to winning than Tennessee, but it doesn't mean Tennessee's not committed to winning.
Yeah.
And when you talk about keeping up with the Joneses, Butch is not one of them. But I do think that Texas, with the resources they have, they're probably more quick to make moves like that than Tennessee. But in difference to a lot of people, I do think Tennessee's committed to winning. They just hadn't been able to figure it out.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's very committed to winning. I think the spending that Tennessee has shown, the spending on Jeremy Pruitt is one reason we're maybe still talking about Jeremy Pruitt being the head coach. So it's not about a commitment, it's about an execution to trying to win at Tennessee. But also say with Texas, they should have a higher standard within their own conference, which Tennessee fans aren't going to want to hear, and that's perfectly fine. But I mean, Texas is one of the top one or two in the Big 12. Just should be every year. And Tennessee is not that. So I think both are extremely committed to winning. Texas may be a little more desperate at times or a little more aggressive at times, but the commitment is definitely there at Tennessee. They just need to execute better.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you go back 15 years, you hear people that make this argument that Tennessee isn't committed to winning, and then in the same breath they say, we never should have fired Philip Fulmer. Well, wait a second. Philip Fulmer had the exact same record basically over his last 8 years that Gus Malzahn did. So you can say one, you can say the other. Can't say both. You can't say because that was a winning coach who had won a national championship here at Tennessee, and they said not good enough. Move on. So they were committed to winning big. If your argument is, well, we were then, and I agreed with that, now we're not anymore. Okay, maybe, but it is interesting that you get two sides of that coin from the same fan base.
What would be the reaction in Knoxville if Tennessee were firing Jeremy Pruitt to hire Steve Sarkisian? I think it would be pretty split among fans. Mm-hmm. Some would say, yeah, that's a great hire. Others would say, why are we getting another Alabama assistant? That's not good enough. And that's what Texas is.
I think you can argue with the means of winning, but commitment, I don't think you can. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt walks in, I need a new weight room. Okay. I need a third practice field. Okay.
A new weight room that had just been redone by the previous guy.
I need to go hire a $1 million coordinator who's going to basically be a co-defensive coordinator. Okay. I need to double Jim Chaney's salary and bring him from Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm changing my coordinators after year. Both my coordinators after year one. We're going to have a new fleet of graduate assistants and staff members that weren't here before.
And I'm going to change my own doctors, too.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, means you can argue with. Commitment, I mean, that just doesn't hold weight in any way. The commitment's there. The results aren't. The means you can argue with, but they want to win. They're putting everything they can. I mean, Philip Fulmer's whole idea was pump all the money into football and rising tide lifts all boats. It's not there yet, but that's what they wanted to do.
And Texas is one of the rare examples, in my opinion, that they wouldn't have made that move unless they knew they had Sarkisian hired.
Yeah.
You hear all the time, you better know who you're going to hire. Well, in most cases you don't. But in this case, they did, in my opinion.
Yeah, they fired and hired on the same day.
Yeah. I also wonder how much, and this may relate to Pruitt, they wanted Urban Meyer, and they made the run at Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer said, for health reasons, I'm not coaching again. And then they came out and said, well, we grade this at the end of the season, he's our coach. And then they wind up getting him anyway. I wonder, though, if once you walk into a house and the exit door's open, you start wondering, hey, what's out there? You don't stay in the house. So I wonder, once they got to the point of actually talking to Urban Meyer, it was already cooked for Herman. That we can't get Meyer, so let's stick with Herman. You know what? I've kind of got a hankering for a new guy now, just from talking to Urban Meyer. And I wonder if Jeremy Pruitt, once you get to a certain point where so many people have turned, can you get everybody back in the boat? I don't think you can.
That's a good point. The other point is that if Texas, let's say they went after Sarkisian, he said no, would Texas have made the change?
Well, I think the cynical side of me, the dark side of college sports, that statement released shortly before early signing period, Texas's class was already crumbling a little bit. They lost like the #1 quarterback in the country. I'd like to see everybody that signed have the ability to free transfer. They can't, but these are things where, again, the power dynamics in college football are shifted away from the players, and this is a situation where players, they didn't sign up to play for Steve Sarkisian. You got to know something else is coming, but when they say right before he's our coach, you'd at least think for another year, not 3 weeks.
All right, when we come back, let's talk about the revolving door at Tennessee. Told you a couple of weeks ago to expect more transfers than usual, and you're seeing it already. Another one into the hopper today, as a matter of fact. We'll discuss what these guys are saying on their way through the exit door. Come on back on the Sports Source.